Have you ever been so sick that you've needed to take antibiotics? How about needing to take a razor to shave the hair off of your body? Lastly, how many of you guys have ever used makeup before? If any of you guys said yes to this, then you guys probably should listen, because the truth is that the vast majority of us can't go without these products in our everyday to day lives. So, do any of us really know what happens behind closed doors and how these products get onto the shelves on our markets? The truth is that for the past 60 years, the United States has been using animals in order to make advancements in medicine, household items, and in the cosmetic industry. Each year, we average from 17 to 70 million animals being killed each year. And there's just an unfathomable number of animals that are being tortured just for the sake of these products. You may think that there are some good reasons and that it's for a good cause because we are getting some insight on humans and how it's gonna, how we're gonna react to it. But do we really need these animals for genetic research, biomedical research, toxicology research, drug testing, or just medical testing in general? Are the numerous amounts of innocent animals being caged up, tortured, and killed each year worth all of this? According to PETA, humans are responsible for the deaths and torture of nearly 100 million animals each year. Every year, animals are being burned, starved, and poisoned. Humans even go as far as to deliberately infect them with things like diabetes, AIDS, and cancer. They are torturing them up to the point where they lose their eyes, they damage their brain, break their bones, and just use functionality as an animal in general. Every year, almost 100 million animals have to go through this type of merciless torture. Every animal is defenseless and are being killed despite animal testing not even being the most effective form of testing for humans. So, what justifies animal testing at all when there are other types of treatments and alternatives? And it honestly brings up another question, which is, are the chemical reactions on animals and on humans even the same? In fact, according to PETA, scientists and research claim that they need animals for our experiments and in order to find cures for human diseases. But there have been numerous times where animal studies don't just hurt the animal and waste money, but they end up killing the people too, despite being cleared for human consumption and stuff like that. Some drugs were tested on animals and judge saved and ended up having devastating consequences for the humans that ended up taking them. And according to Dr. Ari Breker, the answer is simple, and that is because no animal species can serve as an experimental model for a human being. Animal testing is simply a vicious procedure overall that only inflicts harm, pain, and stress on the animal. And it can all simply be avoided. On another article by PETA, they start describing the first instance that we're going to be going over in the first type of testing, which is the eye, ear, and test, which involves immobilizing rabbits to the point where it's just their head facing up and they start dropping different substances into their eyes. And not to mention that this was mostly done without anesthesia because they wanted to see the damage to the eye tissue that was done over 72-hour testing periods. So imagine your rabbit just being taken out and then being strapped down and then just being forced to go through this. You wouldn't allow that at all. So why would you allow an defenseless rabbit or an animal in general to go through this? Another example of the torture can be seen in the acute toxicity test. And this procedure is honestly just extremely inhumane. They would cut holes in the animals' throats and give them substances through the hole and into their stomachs in order to determine the amount of the substance that will end up killing the entire testing group, every animal that they have. So, lastly, things like aspirin can kill cats, and things like penicillin can kill guinea pigs, which are all pretty commonly used for human consumption. But a funny thing is that guinea pigs can actually survive eating things like strychnine, which is one of the deadliest poisons for humans, but is surprisingly safe for monkeys. Back in the 2000s, there were a few instances where medicines like Plavix were all deemed and passed all of the animal testing requirements, but is now seen caused in bleeding, anemia, and results in kidney failure. So as you can see, not all animal testing is reliable and will give us the proper insight that we need. So at one point in the 2000s, there was a poll, and it was said that 75% of Americans were all against the testing for cosmetic purposes on animals. And since then, there has been 500 major corporations that have turned away from animal testing since then. Technology is advancing at a rapid rate, so there are a lot more methods that do not require animal testing in general now, such as human cells and human tissues in laboratories, as well as computer models and simulations. If it came down to it, human volunteers can also be used if it's deemed safe enough. And lastly, a thing that's called an organ on a chip, which is practically just a computer chip that mimics human organ responses. And they all provide more complex and valuable information than animal testing will ever give us, because they are all made for humans. So now that we know what all products have to go through in order to make it onto the shelves, we can now start to shop with the intention to stay away from these products. Let's all start steering away from animal testing now that we have advancements in our technology. The vast majority of us love pets and animals, and it would all hurt us to see our pets being the ones that are being tested on. So let's make a difference for the innocent animals that don't have a choice in this. Thank you.